Okay, this is a review for the Ghost Monument, the second episode of the new series for Doctor Who. Opening thoughts. I like the look and feel of this episode. The colors were extremely bright, but also there were a lot of retro sort of throwbacks in this episode. Like if you look at the way the spaceships on the inside looked at the beginning of the episode, they were like from the 80s, a set from the 80s or something, which I thought was really, really cool. The title sequence, I like that. The look of it, very early Doctor Who, with the psychedelic movement of the lines and all that. I also like the sound of it too. The sound of the, very mixture of War Doctor with a bit of classic Who, which I thought was really cool. This episode for me was a little bit of a mixed bag because it's a direct follow on from the first episode where, at the end of the last episode, if you didn't watch, they were left in deep space. And in this one, they picked up in this ships in a race for a great prize, which I liked also because that was a throwback to another episode from the 80s. The story, I think it was, believe, Enlightenment, basically. I thought that was a really cool little throwback there. I don't know if anyone else picked that one up. But, yeah, there were some things that I liked and some things that I didn't like about the episode. I liked the little workaround for the translation circuit issue, where everyone could understand everyone else because, the TARDIS wasn't there as far as we know, translating for everyone. And it turns out everyone has already been implanted with a translator. So that was cool. Nice little workaround. I also like the mention of don't touch the water, 10th Doctor error, on Mars, don't touch the water, not a single drop. I thought that was a really, really cool thing. The one thing I really sort of did not like was, okay, in the episode, the first time the Doctor does it, she, stops, strikes almost a pose with a sonic screwdriver and activates it. I mean, yeah, other Doctors have stopped in the past running from something and to use the sonic, but they don't stop, almost adjust themselves slightly, and then strike a pose. And by the third time of the Doctor doing this in the episode, my wife and I literally looked at each other at the same time, and I said, "Is she striking a pose?" And my wife looked at me and she said, yeah, she's striking a pose, and I do not like it. And I can agree with that. It's kind of silly. Like, why couldn't she have been running away from the situation? I think it was the second time that she stopped to shut the door or fuse the door mechanism. And yeah, she stops. She strikes a pose, and then the thing catches up with her. Why couldn't she quickly stop for 2 seconds, done it, and then just been off? Not been a little bit finessey about it. But that's kind of nitpicking here and there. The characters in this story I thought were really good. The two space pilots, being equal and opposite to each other. I thought that was kind of cool. How you got the gruff older guy who's sort of seen and done everything. Then you got the young compassionate female who's willing to sacrifice her own enlightenment or happiness, I guess, by the end of the race to help these four strangers that she's never known before. So I thought that was a really good moment there. Another thing I liked was also the third Doctor mention. Basically, the Venusian Aikido, and basically nerve pinching the guy to stop him dead in his tracks. I thought it was kind of cool. Ryan had a really, really stupid moment in this episode where literally he grabs a gun, he runs out in the middle of the field and just starts shooting down these robotic soldiers. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm hardcore. I've shot them all down. Turns around, goes to walk back, and then all of a sudden they all just rise up and he's like out of ammo. He's like, oh! So I thought that was kind of, in a way, impulsive and quite silly of him to do. I like how they also mentioned the stanza from the first episode in this from the first episode in this one. Tim Shaw basically his race, and how what they did to this planet is the reason why it was out of orbit, and why literally there was no civilization there anymore, because they've literally just used up all the resources of that planet. The one thing I wish they had actually done with the story, they could have added to that. They could have said that because we know by the end of the episode, spoiler, the ghost monument turns out to be the TARDIS, and I would like to have found out, that the ghost monument is what drew the stanza in, and the TARDIS might have only been there in normal space time for maybe a few days, but it'd been there for, let's say, thousands of years, and messing temporarily, sorry, with the planet, phasing in and out of time, forward through time, back through time, sideways maybe through time, which would be really cool. I thought they missed a trick with that part of the story, I think, honestly. Um, and also the little sneak peek of what's yet to come in the series, where we get the timeless child. So obviously something is either going to happen to one of the new companions, or it might bring back a companion. Say timeless child, it could be River Song, it could be Captain Jack, maybe Donna, because she was affected by the Doctor's regeneration. So yeah. The one thing also, towards the end of the episode, when the Doctor finally gets the TARDIS back and it's stabilized, and she figures out she hasn't got a key. Um, there were two possible ways to have fixed that. One, she could have easily snapped her fingers, because the last, what, 3 or 4 doctors have snapped their fingers to open the doors at various times. And also the hidden key over the P in a cubby hole inside the outside shell of the TARDIS. So that could have come into play. It could have been another wink and a nod to previous episodes and seasons, which they missed that trick too. I'm sad to say, which, you know, yeah. But it was a contrasting episode. It had its good points. It had its bad points. Um, I did like the guy who randomly appeared in the desert with the tent. I thought he was cool. He was mysterious, and just uppity up of himself. Basically he's all powerful and more or less all knowing, and it sort of harkens back yet again to that episode with the Fifth Doctor for enlightenment. So he's like an enlightened being, and he's just doing this with the lower beings to amuse himself, more or less. I also like the twist ending with the two pilots basically finishing the race at the same time, and the guy's like, no, 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 never been a joint winner before, never will be. This race is null and void. And then the Doctor just steps up and is like, basically, you're going to give them what they want. If you don't give them what they want, you're going to tangle with me. And then it's just sort of like, okay, dual winner, yeah, you get your prize, you're done. I thought that was both cool, the fact that they sort of grew as people, or the guy pilot did at least. And the female one got to have her reward, which was cool too. Um, so yeah. Okay, now on to the new console room. I liked it. I liked the walls, the old steel round plating and whatnot, Sheffield steel reference and all that, because, I believe Sheffield is somewhere near Yorkshire or whatever. Um, I also like the console itself. The look of it is just, yet again, it's a throwback to Tennant and Eccleston's console, and even a little bit further back into McGann and the War Doctor's console. If you look at it, the structure is almost quite identical. So yeah, I thought that was really, really really cool. The crystalline structure, um, the actual little clear, crystally TARDIS outer plasmic shell on the console, almost like you spin the console and that starts the time rotors. And I just thought it was very ingenious. It sort of throws back a little bit to, like I said, Eccleston, McGann, War Doctor, Tennant, and also has a bit of a steampunk, lead pipe and brass fitting and whatnot feeling to it. So I thought that was a really cool and unusual and I'm just trying to think of the word, very mixed bag. There we go, mixed bag of other console rooms from the past. So yeah, onward and outward. I mean, there's little bits about the character for the Doctor that is sort of hit and miss at the moment because we're still trying to find her. We're still trying to find her feet, and so is she as a character. And for us, it's for us trying to find our feet as her for the Doctor. So she still has a lot of leg room to grow and become a different type of character, um, which we'll see in hopefully in the next say 3 or 4 episodes. Um, I'm gonna give this episode a rating of 7 out of 10. I love the visual effects, the console room, the vistas, the landscape. I also loved the inside of the spaceships at the beginning of the story. Like I said, they looked so 80s. It's ridiculous. I was expecting part of the wall to fall down or something to find, part of the crew standing back there having coffee. Um, so yeah, it's still a mixed bag at this point for story and characters and whatnot. There's a little bits here that are a little bit um could be better, but couldn't be worse. So it's almost middle line at the moment. But I'm quite happy with what I've seen in the last 2 episodes. This episode and the previous one. Um, Looking forward to see what's more in the future. And yeah, apologize for the lateness of this recording because I have had a really long, strong week at work. I'm here in Australia, as you could probably tell by my accent, and Doctor Who airs over here at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and by that point, I'm already at work. So I don't get to watch the episode until after I get home, about 5 or 6 o'clock later that evening. So yeah, just enjoy the episode. I'm enjoying more or less. Hope you guys do.